What's good, everyone? It's been a solid while since I've done a Neca Predator review, and I'm proud to finally own the new Neca Deck Predator from Predator Badlands, which released last year. This figure is the first of many upcoming figures from the Predator Badlands line that have been teased and will be available later this year and next year. We've got a lot to tackle, so let's not stall any longer and jump straight to the box. The box itself chooses to utilize the ultimate packaging, which is pretty traditional for most Neca figures. I didn't like how the first Alien Romulus figure chose to stray away from this. My argument here about this packaging is it's simple, it's recognizable, and well uniformed with a majority of NECA's releases this day and age. Pop open the flap and you get a nice promotional shot of the training armor deck. Furthermore, if you open it on up, you get a solid backing piece that's non-glossy. The great thing about this is it helps minimize any reflection if you wish to use it for any in-house toy photography. Both the left and the right sides don't have anything that's too insane. I mean, you have a shot of Deck that's a little different on each side, one where he's holding his sword, roaring. The top keeps it simple, but our bottom is where the instructions are, and this is where we get some changes for our Predator figures. Now, an argument can be made here. Is it good, or is it bad? I'll speak more on that later on, but for now, this is about the instructions themselves. Finally, the back has several shots of Deck and different ways you can go in and customize them as you wish. The bottom, self-explanatory. Go ahead and pause it if you wish, but it tells you everything you need to know about this action figure and what's in the box. And now for our base Deck. The first thing you'll notice is this is a small figure in contrast to most Predator figures, which to me this is on point considering if you've seen the movie he's considered to be the runt. Now if you're not seeing it exactly right now, you'll see it later on when I bring other NECA figures into frame. For now, let's get up close and personal with this action figure, starting with the face. Now this swappable face concept is not exactly new to Predator figures. I believe Hot Toys has actually done something similar in the past with mandibles or such, but this is the first time we're seeing it applied to a NECA figure. I've been wondering when this was going to get applied honestly for the last decade, and it's finally here, but I'm kind of mixed as to whether I like the execution right here for starts. And if you're worried about the seams, they're hardly noticeable unless you look directly at them. The detail is all there, and upon looking at this figure, the first thought I had was, where are the quills? But then after that, I went back and watched the actual movie, and then after that I realized, oh, there were no exactly quills on this character's face. Probably due to the age. I do feel like around the mandibles, they could be a little bit darker when it comes to the paint apps. Something seems off to me also about the mandibles themselves. I feel like they could be thinner and sharper. But I'm happy to report there's no wonky eyes. We even get the ear holes, which I think this is the first time we have seen a Predator figure actually feature this. I could be wrong. The dreads are all pliable, however, unfortunately, we still have clumps, which makes me miss how free the dreads were when we used to get our older figures, where it felt like everything was free for the Ultimate Predators, especially the Lost line. The armor is completely pliable. This is due to it being the light training armor, and at no point does it actually interfere with the actual figure, so articulation will not take any hits, and you'll see later on when we talk about the articulation itself. At first thought, I'd also thought that NECA had sacrificed the ab articulation and was a little confused, but actually it is nicely hidden underneath the chest armor, and I gotta say I applaud how that's done. I can't say overall there's anything unique that grabs my attention in terms of Deck's training armor. I mean, there's a few cool, neat things on there, but nothing that makes me go like, wow, I didn't notice that in the movie. In general, that's how I felt about seeing this training armor on screen. I mean, nothing really popped to me, so I really can't fault NECA for just following along when it comes to accuracy of the armor design. The feet have wraps, and all the claws on the fingers and toes are cleanly painted. If there is anything that does pop to me, it's the fact that the armor has a really nice solid paint application that just gives it this metallic look. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied with the paint apps and the mold. If I have any nitpicks, it's pretty much just those mandibles and the dreads, honestly. To me, it just seems like a step back in contrast to what we had at one point. I do wish the dreads were more glossy, rather than like a flat matte looking color. So now the articulation. Our head spins, but boy, the neck movement going up and down is terrible. In fact, this may be the worst for any new Predators. And guess what? It gets worse. Let's swap the open mandibles face on and you get no range, and any possible pressure down can interfere with the seams just opening up. So this is a fumble right out the gate, and I really hate saying that because this is a cool idea, it's just the execution to me is just terrible. I'm not ready to talk about the face swapping completely yet, but I couldn't help but go ahead and go all in on that because I feel like this is where there are some issues that do need to be fixed and addressed when it comes to future Predator figures. If there's any positive to praise, it's got to be the fact that the arms have great range, cut in the biceps, then double jointed elbows. We have wrists that rotate. Once again, ab and even our waist articulation, massively stiff leg movement going forward, and more stiffness when it comes to double jointed knees. So yeah, I'll go ahead and heat this guy on up when I have the chance. And if you're wondering why I haven't heated this guy up, it's because I wanted to go ahead and show you guys out of the packaging that you need to be mindful of articulating this guy. Finally, feet that spin and rock. To sum it up, this guy isn't as graceful as some of the recent NECA Predators ever released in terms of articulation. Maybe I'm asking for too much considering the fact I bought so many Hayatoys figures, and I've been so spoiled with the Godzilla figures when I touch them and they just articulate like nothing out of the box. So unfortunately, articulation is an area that definitely does take a step back for this action figure. So the accessories. Now if there's one thing that NECA locks in with, it's gotta be the accessories department. Let's talk about this face swapping a bit more. In principle, I love this idea, but I don't think NECA has perfectly crafted it yet. So we got our roaring, standard, and angry faces. Aside from that, we also have our biomask, which looks fantastic and movie accurate, but moving the head up and down is kind of a fight, and even the dreads interfere with it. We've got several hands, different variations for grasping items. I do believe this version is supposed to be for the compound bow. Also, I will go ahead and say that some of these hands do interfere when you go ahead and put on the wrist blades, so that's something key I want to go ahead and point out. Also, I do believe that they're a little loose when they hold the sword a little bit, so yeah, there are some issues with these hands, I will say, but you gotta go ahead and find the ones that are kind of like perfect. If anything, I really hate the fact that we do not have any closed fist hands for this Predator, so that is kind of shocking. As many as we have, we are missing that one, which would have been key for the wrist blades. We have an open combat stick, which I gotta say, I never noticed how unique this weapon is, considering it hardly gets any screen time in the actual movie. Different tips on each end. The best part, zero warping. Warping has been a constant issue I have fought when it comes to these staffs, anything when it comes to the spears with the Predator figures, so happy to report, none here. The compound bow, I don't think I'll be using it much, but it's a slick new weapon, and I do believe it has some draw, has nice translucent parts. I honestly have seen some pretty unique Photoshop digital editing when it comes to this weapon for toy photography. Finally, we have our Yaoja sword, both collapsed in standard. Now I'll draw back, and if you'll recall, on the bottom of the box you saw the instructions. But what you'll find out is there's a little baggie that has these little pegs in there. It's self-explanatory. And I'll go ahead and say it hardly holds. If anything, they're like the clips on the Feral Predator. Personally, myself, I'm putting these to the side because I see a realistic situation where this guy just falls over and they go flying wherever, and I just never find them again until I move, or just by chance, and I don't even remember what they are. So, yeah, that's just my honest opinion about these things. But the sword itself is probably my favorite of the new weapons. One thing I'll say is the red is supposed to mimic the plasma effect, but it looks just like blood, honestly. So if you're one of those people that likes to digitally edit the effects in, work your magic here and do this sword justice. Now, for the size comparison, let's bring in the Feral, and boy does he dwarf Deck. Nextly we have the Jungle Hunter, AVP Celtic. Or how about the Romulus Scorched, NECA Dutch, NECA Robocop, NECA Predator Ultimate Elder. Alright, final verdict. So I hate being negative about certain things when it comes to this action figure. It's just I'm giving you guys an honest review about these things. You know, maybe certain people don't have problems with these changes that have came about, and it's not that I hate the idea of swappable faces, as I've said, it's just that there is work to do. I don't like the idea that the head articulation has to take a setback. We should be able to have all of that. So hopefully this gets looked into. Also, another thing that I kind of thought about later on, I think it would have been pretty cool if they had added in swappable dreadlocks you just peg into the back of the head. So different motions, maybe like he's jumping side to side, or maybe jumping off a rooftop or jumping out of a tree, something that gives it a little motion. That would have been kind of cool. And then, of course, the standard ones. But I don't know how this idea is going overall with collectors, but I will say it's a hell of an evolution when you think about the old days. And if you weren't there, this is how it worked. If you wanted an unmasked Predator, you had to spend another 20 bucks on the same Predator design. Then NECA stepped it up and said, hey, we'll give you multiple swappable heads, we'll go ahead and give you a bonus mask just for the hell of it, and look where we are now. Now, if you're one of the collectors that prefers the swappable head process, the good news, it doesn't appear that it's been fully abandoned quite yet. From what we can tell at San Diego Comic-Con, it seems to be that Deck's brother will be using the old process of swappable heads, which to me, I prefer this. I've always been a bigger fan of these swappable heads and the fact that we can go ahead and have a separate mask. One thing I did miss about this figure is the fact that we have no detail on the interior of the actual mask, which was exhibited on, say, like the City Hunter. It's unfortunate that Deck had to be kind of this, you know, guinea pig for this new process for NECA, but honestly, it's now or never, and I do believe there's room for improvements. It's just that it's going to be subjected just strictly to Deck right now. Who knows for future Predator figures beyond this though, but for Deck's brother and the Elder it appears swappable heads. So if you took to Predator Badlands and loved the movie and are a fan of Deck, you'll want this figure. But if you hated the movie, hated its design, chances are you're not opening your wallet and you don't want this figure in your collection. Sound off on whether you're getting this figure and be honest about it. I'd like to hear your feedback. Overall, not bad, but not as great as the Pharaoh was. Like, subscribe, share. Catch you guys around.